Josh Best, someone comes to you and they say, I want to get into Radiohead. I know they're your favorite band. Give me a guide on getting into Radiohead. What are you going to tell them?
3 tips on how to get into Radiohead. Start slow. Read the lyrics. Number 2 is read the lyrics because you're not going to understand a lot of what he says. So maybe read them so you know what's going on. Number 3, I would say, don't be afraid to dance. If the only thing that gets you is the beat, great. Get up and dance and let the beat take you to where you need to go. So those would be maybe 3 tips I could come up with right off the bat. What about how would you help someone get into Radiohead?
Okay. I'm going to tell them. I'll give them 3 tips. I'll say, first of all, skip the beginning. You've probably heard Creep, but it's irrelevant to the conversation at hand. It's irrelevant to most of the rest of their body of work. I'm not even going to make a judgment call on that song as a whole, even though a lot of people would like to do that. Also, Pablo Honey, their first album. With some bands, I think you really could start with album 1 and just kind of work your way through it. Just forget Pablo Honey. The band's not a big fan. And I'm not saying it's like a terrible album with no great songs or anything like that, but it's just, again, it's them finding their footing. It doesn't really play into the rest of the story. So skip the beginning. Number 2, pick an album. I think Radiohead does work really well in the context of albums. They are sort of an album band, and that's the way that a lot of people talk about Radiohead because they're, in most cases, I feel like they feel cohesive. They feel like a unit. And if you can latch onto an album, it's a good gateway into the rest of them. And then number 3 would be don't give up because the thing about Radiohead is it is very different than other bands and other types of music. And so when you get into it, it can feel a little elusive. It can feel a little daunting, maybe, especially if you're coming to them at this stage where, they have all their entire body of work that you could go through. And you might feel a little overwhelmed. And maybe if there's something that you're not feeling necessarily, don't let that dissuade you. I think that can be part of the journey. And once you get past that, if you do have any hangups, and you may not, you may hit play and be like, got it. Love this. I'm totally into it. But if not, maybe give that album just a few more reps, play it in the background, play it while you do other things. If it doesn't work for you, there are a couple other albums that you might be able to move on to that we'll get into here. But that's the other thing is if it doesn't click immediately, that doesn't mean that this isn't for you. Just sometimes the best music and the ones that the music that matters the most to me required a little bit of patience in the beginning. I think for some people that might be true of Radiohead. So those will be my 3 tips of how to get into it. If someone's going to come to you and let's say that they are like, okay, I'm ready to go. Which album do I listen to? What are you saying they should start off with? Like, what's a good first album for Radiohead, aspiring Radiohead fan?
That's a good question. So my first tip was start slow. So I might even back up and say, let's just pick a song or 2. And the only reason I say that is because I totally agree that what you said about Radiohead does things in albums. They kind of have a concept or a style because Radiohead likes to do some different things. So one record that comes out this time sounds like this. 2 years later, the album may sound a different album may sound totally different. So I would say of the here's what I to answer your question, I'm going to say the Bends, because the first songs that I started compiling of here's what you should start with if when you're getting into Radiohead, the first songs I thought of were songs off the Bends. So I'm going to say if you're going to start with an album, start with the Bends. The songs the particular songs that I thought of off the Bends are High and Dry, radio hit, easy to listen to. I think it would be hard to find a music fan who had no frame of reference of the song High and Dry, sit them down, play them that song, and then be like, I don't think I really like that. It's a good song that anybody could like. Another song off the Bends that I think it could be said the exact same thing is Fake Plastic Trees. I also thought of Black Star and Bulletproof. These are all songs that I feel like you can sing along to, you can understand the lyrics. They're catchy lyrics that that you'll remember and want to sing along to. They're just good rock songs that are not, don't have some of the um components of a Radiohead song that we spoke of earlier, like maybe challenging, harder to listen to. These songs are going to be easier to pick up right away. So I would say the Bends.
That's interesting. And I think that for me, it's like you could almost do pick your journey here. And you could actually like do a sampling of a few songs, find the one that connects the most with you, and then follow the thread on that album. So, for example, let's say that you're listening to Bones and you're like, okay, that's one that I might throw out. Like, check out Bones. Do you like the way that Bones sounds, which is off the Bends? If you do, and that's like, okay, I kind of dig that. Which is like, who's talking about Bones? I don't think people are going to talk about that, but I think it has a good vibe, good representation. Maybe Planet Telex is another good one off the Bends. Check out those or any of the songs that you recommended, and it's like, does this connect? If so, go to the Bends. If you want to listen to, then you might also check out a song called Let Down. And if you are like, Let Down, wow, that's something special. I like the ethereal guitars. I like the way that all of this sounds. Okay, that's a good indicator that you should go check out OK Computer. If you listen to Weird Fishes, and you're like, this is blowing my mind, I want to go down this path, then go check out In Rainbows. I feel like those three albums, The Bends, OK Computer, In Rainbows, are all perfectly valid entry points. I do think that there could be the rare person out there who really likes sort of disjointed electronic music. And if you like Idiotech, then maybe check out, Kid A. That could be someone's entry point. But I feel like it's a little bit more elusive. I feel like it's a little bit more challenging. And honestly, I don't even know if Idiotech's like a good representation of what that album sounds like. I think it's sort of like the most thunderous song that's in your face off of that album. But I feel like it's pretty valid. Also, I could totally see someone who has off kilter music sensibilities listen to you in Whose Army, and it's like, hey, maybe Amnesiac's the one. It's like there's so many possible entry points, but from to put all that aside, I think the Bends, OK Computer, and Rainbows, I feel like either of those three are pretty good gateway drugs for all that you're going to get when you get into Radiohead.
I totally agree with what you just said there. And, albums like Kid A and Amnesiac and A Moonshaped Pool, those albums I feel like are super cool and I love them, but those albums are kind of like that's not a great representation. That was a special time where you got that group of songs, and then no other album really sounds like that anymore. So
Yeah.
so I don't know if it's a great representation of Radiohead's body as a whole. Whereas I do think the Ben's OK Computer in Rainbows does give you, and maybe even Hell to the Thief does give you a good representation of what Radiohead's going to give you throughout their body of work. So another thing that I never did when I was younger that I would encourage people to do is read the lyrics. I've got some friends who are big music fans who I've tried to introduce them to Radiohead, and their arguments are, well, I don't really know what they're saying, or I can't sing along, or, I feel like a lot of the pushback that I've heard from music fans who can't get into Radiohead is it has a lot to do with Tom York and the vocals. And I totally get that. There are bands out there that I can see the talent in the band. I can enjoy the instrumentation, and there's just something about the singer that I can't get into. So that's a valid argument. And if you follow our guide and work hard at getting into Radiohead and you just cannot get past Tom York, I get it. I don't understand you, but I get, or I understand you. I don't agree with you, and maybe there's just no hope for you, and I get it, and we just have to agree to disagree. But I would say read the lyrics. And if you can't sing along, well, then that's okay. Maybe you're not supposed to sing along. Maybe you're just supposed to be quiet and let Tom do the singing. You know what I mean? If you want to sing along, go listen to Little Baby Bums on Netflix or whatever. Uh, so yeah, read the lyrics. What do you think about that? Is it a hang up for you to listen to music that is like so challenging vocally that you can't sing along with it, and so you don't want to listen to it?
No, there's nothing about. First of all, and you and I have talked about this before. Not, I don't. I pay more attention to lyrics now than I used to. And some of it's because like when we do research for a podcast episode, like because we did a deep dive on the bins, by the way, if anybody's interested in learning about that, I think it is a good like access point for Radiohead. And you can certainly check out our deep dive on that. But it's probably more for people who have heard the bins a lot and just want to geek out with it. But I would say, okay, I don't need to know the lyrics. I don't necessarily need to sing along, nor do I need the melodies to be those types of melodies that are like, this is an anthem that people are going to be able to sing. I know that that's important for some listeners. It's not a thing for me necessarily, but I certainly have had plenty of bands where it's like all the respect in the world, but the voice is a little too just not for me. So I have had that, like I I hope this doesn't make anyone angry, but like Geddy Lee from Rush is one like, and dude,
That
I
was
respect
example
his
number
voice,
1 for me. I mean, that was
right?
exactly who I was thinking of. Is I've heard people say all the time, "Rush, one of the greatest bands of all time, Rush." And so I've made myself listen to it, and just something about Geddy Lee, it's just hard to get past. No
It's
disrespect.
no disrespect. And honestly, like I can hear the music and be like, yes, I get it. And honestly, and I can hear his voice and I'm like technically proficient. I think I all the respect in the world. It's just not going to be for me. And so it's like you said, agree to disagree. It would take me though to my final point that I'll make here, which is there is I didn't know this until later, until probably like I was like well into Radiohead fandom. And I realized when talking to someone who wasn't into Radiohead that they felt like they were kind of kept at arm's length because of Radiohead fans. And that Radiohead fans and all of our friends with that like Radiohead, I feel like they're pretty chill, pretty open minded people. I guess there is a perception of Radiohead fans as being maybe pretentious would be the right word. I've certainly had that word thrown at me when I've talked about Radiohead and my love for them. And in fairness, I probably said something super pretentious right before somebody said that to me. So like it's fair, it's a fair point, but I would always, and I think this is true of any fan base, because any fan base can kind of go there if they're all obsessed with this band and there's kind of groupthink, and it's like you have to anyway, I would just say ignore all that noise. Like forget about like the fans and what they say. And if you feel sort of off put by that stuff, if you feel put off by all that, then just forget about what fans are saying about it. Just have your own relationship with the music. Find the thing that you like. If there's an album, if there's a style of Radioheads that you're not crazy about, like it's totally fine. You don't have to go with the grain. You don't have to be part of a community. It can just be a relationship between you and the music, and that's totally valid. And sometimes, so maybe if one of the things that's kept you distant from enjoying Radiohead is this perception of like who they are based on their fans alone, I would say do your best to just ignore that and move past it, myself included. I'm not hating on Radiohead fans because we are Radiohead fans. We love this band. So like I could be guilty of all of the sins that I'm saying that Radiohead fans are accused of being guilty of. So yeah, forget all that. Forget the noise and just find the thing that works for you. Be patient, give it time, and get into it. Anything closing tips from you as we send our aspiring Radiohead fan off into the journey?
My last tip was start dancing. So I would say, we're talking about the different albums. Somebody might say, well, I'm listening to the bins. You told me to listen to the bins, and I'm not really hearing what you're talking about with Start Dancing. Well, after OK Computer, they released an album, Kid A. And I would say from Kid A on, every album has a lot of dancey, friendly songs to it. Another tip I would say, I didn't put it on my list, is now that we have all this great technology, go and watch some
Mm.
Radiohead. Like those, what's that thing where they have something where they do like the whole album in like
Yeah,
this
from the
recording
basement.
from the
Yeah.
basement. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Go watch that,
yeah.
because when you listen to an album, especially in the current times we live in, with technology, it's just it's endless possibilities of what recording musicians can pull off. But so when you're listening to Radiohead, it may, you may hear something where you're like, oh man, what are they doing here? I encourage you to go watch. Watching Philip Selway play drums is remarkable to me. I don't even know how he does it. I watched 30 seconds of him playing and I'm like, how is he not taking a break? Like he plays so hard and so fast. It's just incredible. So yeah, my last tip would be don't just listen to it, watch it, see how they're doing it. When you watch them perform this from the basement, it's a whole nother level to me of like, how are these guys pulling off these sounds and these beats, and then maybe watch their live performance too. It's just it's one of the things that is one of the more enjoyable things about my fandom of Radiohead.
Second, all of that stuff. Phil Selway is a metronome, and it's amazing. The man can just like go at it that hard and just never ever slow down or speed up. Like he's totally in the pocket the whole time. I think In the Basement is a pretty good recommendation. It's like almost after talking it through, it's like if you've made it this far through the video, then it's like maybe just throw that on. Go over to throw on In the Basement and From the Basement and listen to In Rainbows. Anything off of that. Listen to Body Snatchers or Jigsaw falling into place or Weird Fishes, and just like enjoy what these people are capable of. It's super cool to watch them do it, and I think that they're also a visually exciting band to enjoy. So yeah, this has been great. One of our favorite bands of all time. If you have your own thoughts, what would you recommend that somebody do to get into Radiohead? Please leave it in the comments below. If you think that there are other bands that need guides of like, hey, let's find out how to get into this other band, and we want to know your suggestions on that too. Like and subscribe to the video, and we'll be back with more videos coming your way. Take it easy, buddy. Have a good one.
Subscribe, 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 subscribe.